Hey everybody, welcome to Tribe Talks with myself, Steph B, and Lisa Curran, whose Instagram handle is Lisa's Random Adventures. And you get all sorts with Lisa's Random Adventures. But I suppose the main thing that struck me when I started following Lisa is her wonderful story of her little boy, Christopher. So Lisa's here with me today, and we'll get stuck in, Lisa. Let me get rid of this.
Hello.
Sharing, so nobody has to look at that anymore. So thanks for joining me. It's really lovely to have you here.
I'm actually so excited. It gave me an excuse to put makeup on.
Right. So Lisa, do you know what I've started doing? I've started wearing my clothes.
Yeah.
I've started wearing my clothes. Yeah.
It's just, it's pants-stick all the way has been the magic lifesaver for lockdown, I think.
Yeah, I got sick of sitting around in my gym clothes. Like I lived in gym clothes for the first whatever month, and this last month I've said no, I'm actually wearing makeup every day now, just for the crack.
Just school run. You're just like, you know what? I'm putting this on. This like a friend of mine, my birthday was in May, so a friend of mine sent me over this, and all I can describe it as is it's a whole body blanket with a hood, a massive big like those muffs you used to have at Christmas. We used to be there, and it's that size of like a pocket. It's for snacks, and then oh my god, I lived in that for the first lockdown. I swear, it was a blessing and a curse all at once. But it was magical. I was like, that is the best birthday present I've ever gotten.
But isn't it nice though to actually get a chance to do those things we always say we'd love to do, like have a day on the sofa, and we never do it. And then we've had a chance to do it, and now we're like, okay, it's not as cool as I thought it would be doing it all this time, but.
And I find that a lot, like, because I would teach a lot of teenagers, like, and they were all so happy for the first maybe 2-3 weeks. They were like, this is great. And then they realized fun is when you're around your friends and in school and you have something to talk about, you have something to complain about, you have something to compare with each other. And they didn't have that. And they got very down very quickly, and it was intense, for a while there for them. And then they're back to school and they're wearing masks, secondary school students anyway, 8 hours a day, and they're doing it, which is amazing.
And with the students that you're teaching then, so where have you seen the journey come? So very quickly go down and then, back to school and all that stuff. Where are they now on that journey, that change journey?
I think especially kind of the under 18s, kind of 13 to 18, which usually get an awful bad rap for being and loitering and everything. They're really frustrated with adults, which is interesting. They have done their part, and they're like, it's the adults, it's the responsible adults having parties, pushing the limits, testing the rules, and we're in school all day. People can't wear their mask into a shop or anything like that. And, there's doing for all these things. They're doing it. And they haven't had a voice. They haven't complained. They are just doing it because they are like, we need our friends. We need things to go back to normal. We need our extracurricular, and this is what we're doing. And they are so frustrated with adults. It's so interesting to hear that the teenagers now are going, no, it's you guys. It's not us. It's you.
When you look at trying to make social changes, where do we start? We start at school. So I remember when I was a kid, now I'm way older than you, when they wanted people to start wearing seat belts, it was the schools. And I remember saying to my mom and dad, we really should be wearing our seat belts. And they were like, because it was the 70s, the 80s, the same with smoking, the same with drink driving. It's the kids that we tell, and they're the ones who make it into a reality. Like, it's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I do remember not having to wear seatbelts in cars. And I remember as a small kid, like standing in between the two seats at the back. Like you'd nearly fight to get in the middle, so you stand between the two seats and look out the windscreen. Like, you wouldn't dare try and do that now. So like, thank God things but they're changing more for the younger people, I think. And it's interesting because the younger people have been exposed to so much that, you know, because they've grown up with the internet and people are like, oh, the internet is bad and screens are bad and all this stuff. But I'm sure they said that about the phone. I'm sure they said that about the newspaper. I'm sure they said that, you know, the TV, like it was said about new. And that's what we complain about new things because we don't like change. But they've grown up with this. They know how to use it. They know how to fact check. They know how to find the resources to back up a point. And it's so interesting that they have access to so much information and they can come together in 5 minutes and rally groups. Like they know how to get a group chat going faster than anyone, get the word spread around social media. So like, if we treat them well, they're going to come up and be really powerful in a good way. And I think this has kind of really made them all want to be good. That's from the teenagers that I'm talking to anyway. They really want the world to be good. And it's nice. It is. It's really nice.
It's hopeful, isn't it, when you see that?
I mean, I just remember secondary school was horrible for me. Like, I hated it. Like, hate.
What did you hate about it?
Oh, I found I was an awful kind of oddball. And I loved being an oddball. And I actually still really enjoy being an oddball. I always say, look, you'll either really like me or you'll hate me. Like, that is it. And if you decide you hate me, I will have so much respect for you because you've made a decision. Yes. You know, I'm like, you've decided, and that's fine. That's great. I don't have to, you know, impose myself on you or try and prove anything to you. You've decided, and that's grand. And if you change your mind, come back. But I think in secondary school, especially like I did my Leaving Cert in 2006. So that was kind of the start of YouTube, start of, like I went to college, I went to music college, there was no Wi-Fi. There was nothing on Google and YouTube at the time, which would have been really handy in music college. Still had to go to the library to get CDs. That was it. It was all CDs, everything. So I think back then, all you had was what one person said to the next person next to them. And as you know, Chinese whispers, things grow legs, things grow opinions. And if you didn't want to be smoking behind the back of the shed, you weren't cool. If you weren't, you know, straight A, you weren't a nerd. If you, you know, didn't go downtown and hang around for 4 hours on a Saturday, you know, your friends didn't invite you anywhere. And I would have been always involved in shows and rehearsals, and I used to sing opera back then, which was not cool. And that was just, you're so weird, that's not cool, that's, you know, you're not going to be able to join us in the gig down the road, you know. And it was tricky, but it was a good life lesson in being like, okay, I'm going to just do my own thing anyway. And it worked.
So much to ask you about this. There's so many things you said there that I'd love to delve into. But before we do that, let me just take a pause for a second, because I just want you to tell everybody what it is you teach, because we were talking about you teaching and the students and everything. So let's rewind a tiny bit and tell them a little bit about you and what you teach. And then I'm going to delve into a lot of what you said there, because it's so interesting.
Okay. So like me in general, I kind of like to have a toe in lots of ponds. Like I love doing lots of different things because I don't like getting bored with something.
Yeah.
So like obviously I'm an autism mom and I advocate an awful lot for autism, not just for my own child, but for other kids on various ends of the spectrum. I think it's really important that you're all in it together or not at all. Then I write a music page for a local publication here, Connect Kerry, which is fantastic. I get to talk to musicians all over Ireland, and when they're Kerry, it's just so nice to kind of be the person to be like, here, welcome. And then I went to the Cork School of Music. I was there from 2006 to 2010. I studied mainly opera. upper performance, conducting, music therapy, went into music theatre and jazz then as part of, you know, vocal studies. And then I finished that degree 5 months pregnant, which was not fun to do a 45-minute opera recital 5 months pregnant because I can tell you that was a lot on my diaphragm and a lot better. But we did it. And I always, because, you know, Christopher kicked me to death the entire time of that, you know, recital. And he graduated with me. So Christopher then was born on the 1st of October that year. And
it's the 1st of October. That's my birthday. I love him more than I already did. I mean, I already thought he was the cutest boy ever, but now.
As well, which is like 011010. He loves it.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I got to bring him. He was a month old to the day. I got to bring him to my graduation with me. So, yeah, so then after that, I've just been teaching singing for different stage schools. I have my own little singing school. I just teach a few hours at the moment, mostly online, but that's been a new challenge. And, you know, especially in Kerry, because we do not have fast broadband and stuff down here. Like we are the last on the list to get any of those things, but we're making it work. But yeah, and myself and Christopher's dad, we're not together. He lives in Naas. I live in Kerry. But we get on. He's on with him now for the weekend, which is great.
Yeah.
Like it too. But yeah, that's kind of life. Oh, and I have a dog called Roxy.
Your dog is so gorgeous. Tell everybody what the type of dog is.
He's a golden Labradoodle, and he talks to me at this point. Like, he's so funny, but he's not even a year old yet, so he's going through what.
Oh my God, he's big.
He's mad. Yeah, he's the same height as me.
I always thought Labradoodles were small. Like, that was my perception.
No. And so I think he's a year in 2 weeks' time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's still puppy attention. But he wants all the cuddles that a puppy wants as well.
Oh. My dog is the neediest dog when it comes to cuddles, and that's why I bought him. I wanted. Like, I just love his cuddles so much. He's just stuck to me. Like we call him my little stalker now, because he just sits and stares at me as well when I'm not beside him. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to do.
So running around between cushions, he looks like a cloud just floating around.
Oh, I love him so much.
More dogs.
Have you always had dogs? Have they always been in your life?
Yeah, but this is actually the first big dog. My family have always had Yorkshire Terriers because I grew up in so Yorkshire Terriers don't care. So that was the big draw to them, and they're less likely to heighten anybody's allergies. So obviously, when you have guests, all those things. And the Yorkies, oh my God, we had about 5 of them. Oh, they're so cute. But with Christopher, we just wanted to get a big dog because, you know, sensory pressure, everything, and just he's 10, so he wants somebody. He needs a dog that will run with him, you know.
Yeah.
Burn them both out.
Yeah. So how does he get on with the doggy?
They got on pretty well. Like Roxy will chance his arm a lot with me because he knows I'm soft. But he doesn't with Christopher. He knows his limits with Christopher. It's really interesting. It might take me 3 times to say sit or out because he'll be chancing it. But if Christopher turns around to him and says out, like he's out. He's not even going to argue with Christopher. Won't upset Christopher. And it's so interesting, the bond that the dog has taken upon Christopher, more so even than Christopher has taken on the dog.
Yeah. Whose dog is he?
That's part of all.
Right. Whose dog is he?
Well, technically, he's mine, but
whose dog is he really?
You know, I'm not having any more kids, so I was like, this is the closest thing you're going to get to a sibling now, so enjoy it.
That's what I was like.
Enjoy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I was like, this is my. Well, actually, I call him my gay son because I've always wanted a gay son. So,
Yeah.
but he's my gay son.
I
So you're like what I would call, I don't know if you know the book, but there's a book called Multi-Potentialites. And that's what, when you're saying all that, I'm like, oh my God, you're such a multi-potentialite. You've got so many strengths and streams and levers that you pull to make your life, like the blanket that you're creating is a really interesting patchwork blanket. Is there one of those things that is like the primary driver for you, or do you love having lots going on at the same time? Is that just how your personality works?
I had to make a promise to myself, and I actually did it on my 30th birthday. I'm 32 now, and on my 30th birthday, I was like, I'm going to have to start saying no to things.
Yeah.
Because, and I think it all does stem from that bad experience in secondary school. Yeah. And I think when, you know, you go to college and you study what you really want, if that's, you know, if college is a thing you want to do. And music was always what I wanted to do. And when I found fellow music people, I was like, I'm not odd here. Yeah. I'm not odd. We're all odd. You know, there was none of us that you could define as normal, but at the same time, all odd together. So we became normal, if that makes sense. Yeah. In our work, that was it. And I think when you finally do get that gratification, especially after having a kid, whatever your strengths are, when people kind of call to you to use your strengths or acknowledge your strengths, you don't want to say no. Mm-hmm. You want to give them back and use them and be like, look, I've done all this hard work and I'm going to show it to people and help other people with it, especially with music. That was a huge thing for me. I had to start saying no, even down to students. Like the first 2 or 3 years that I went out on my own, I was afraid to say no to any student. And I think that's the fact that we all lived through a horrible recession as well, twice in my life. And it was like, don't turn down money, don't turn down work. You never know when it's going to dry out. That was drilled into us. Mm-hmm. I used to take on students and be like, I'll add another day or I'll add another hour. And then at the time, it's fine. But then in the long term, you're worn out and you're no good to anybody if you don't comment on what you do. And like even now this year, when Christopher went back to school, I took my mornings off. But a friend of mine set up a photography business and asked would I do admin for him and, you know, some posting on social media for his page. And that's been keeping me going in the mornings because obviously teaching singing is after school time. Yeah. So when you're morning doing the school run and then you have nothing to do again till 2, you're like, okay, my brain needs to do something. Because if you get tired and then do the school run and then go to work, it didn't work. Yeah. So I always kind of sit on things for a little while. And I never say to people a solid no. I always go, no, but I know somebody that will help you. I can offer an alternative, or this is why I'm saying no, it's nothing personal, you know, so that you leave those doors open. Yeah. You never know when you might have time to do that, or, you know, what those people are going through to have asked you for help, because it's very hard to ask for help.
Isn't it? You're so right.
You can't really shoot people down.
Yeah.
So what saying no is actually really hard. But it's...
Sorry?
Saying no was something I had to really learn. Yeah. How to do nicely without, as well, being paranoid myself. Because of those experiences in my past, I'd be really paranoid if I let someone down or said no to someone. Oh, they won't like me anymore. They'll never consider me again, everything. So you just have to figure out your way of keeping doors open. But I think they all tie in together so much. I think I always loved music, but having Christopher made me more career driven, because obviously you go to music college and your dream is to be a performer. Mm-hmm. And that's always something I'd still love to do, but I'm quite happy. And people go, oh, do you ever regret it? I'm like, no, I never regret giving up performing and choosing teaching for a while, because hopefully performing is still out there.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
at the moment it's not.
Well, yeah.
So, and then that drives my motivation to speak about autism, because when I'm teaching my students, I'm always telling them, tell your story, say what you want to say, and then that then ties back to the autism, being like, you know, speak up for other people, and if you have something, a message, you need to say it as well. You can't just tell your students to do that and then you not do it. So they all kind of just zigzag all the time,
and how,
which I never would have put.
well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because again, your strengths are coming out in everything you're saying. So you're leading with your strengths with all of those things.
Yeah.
Also, speaking about, I think any kind of public speaking is a sense of performing, and you have to enjoy it to do it, right? So if you're going to be an advocate, God, if you hate public speaking, or you hate having your, you know, if you're scared to have your voice, God, that must be so stressful, to have the desire to be an advocate, but the fear. So like, it's wonderful that you're a performer, because you can very, well, I suppose more easily than most, get up and just, you know, speak.
Yeah, you have those skills drilled into you. I know I started like in stage school, choirs, ballet, like did all those things since I was 4. And even if you don't want your child be any of those things for the rest of their life, like down to ballet was amazing. Like, you know, I know football players that they secretly get in ballet teachers to teach them posture so that they're better when they're on the field, or golfers are huge ones for ballet teachers. It's interesting because their posture is so important to their strength and their core and everything. So like the arts tie in so much to so many different industries. Like no ad campaign can work without the arts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the arts tie in. And, you know, I think I would have always suffered social anxiety, which people don't believe, because I'm a performer. And they're like, but you can get up on stage and you can sing a song and you can, you know, play a part in a musical, no bother. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not me being me. Yeah. That's me doing my, and that's me telling somebody else's story. And very different to being, yes, you have the skills, but when you go up, especially anytime I talk about Christopher, you want to be very respectful of your child at the same time, but at the same time being really open and honest. And it's very hard, especially these days, because like I said, we grew up without the internet and we have a grasp on it, but it is there forever. So like if I talk about Christopher today, I do want to be really mindful that like when he's 18 and if he has a girlfriend and they Google his name or Google my name and this comes up, that they're not looking back going, Mom, why did you do that? You know, it's a lot. So like when you're trying to advocate for something that's so personal to you, you just have to think that hopefully you want it to be there forever and long lasting, but you also have to think about all the repercussions of that too. It's a scary thing, but it's worth it. It is well worth it. That's what I've learned.
What have you gotten from being an advocate? So personally, what have you gotten from that journey of becoming an autism advocate?
Personally, the huge thing for me was like the sense of community. Like I would say tribe, but it's more of a sense of community, because everyone involved with autism is so busy and so all over the place. Like, and we all accept that about each other. So you talk to one autism mom straight through for a fellow autism mom straight through for 3 weeks. Then you might not hear from them for 3 weeks because in therapies, they're chasing a million things, their child is going through a rough patch, you know. So then you reach out to them, they reach out to you, and it's a community. It's all this checking in, which I found very, very hard to find. In Kerry, I had Christopher at 22. None of my friends had kids. Most of my friends finished music college. Some of them are like pretty successful in the music industry, between pop, rock, composing, the West End, touring the world. So it was very lonely to come back to Kerry in one way, but I wouldn't have gone anywhere else either. Kerry was it's home. There, the sea is there. The green fields are there. People. But it was very hard. I found it very hard. The night of my own graduation was the first time I really felt it. Christopher was a month old. I went up to graduation. People that were in my year, some of them didn't even come over and acknowledge him.
Yeah.
They were nervous. They were like, oh my God, one of us has a baby. No. And I came home that night, put a month old to bed, back to Kerry from Cork. And they were all out, and I knew they were all partying and having a great time. And that was kind of the first time that I sat there and went, right, my life is very, very different now to the people that I finally felt I fit in with. Now I suddenly don't again.
Yeah.
And that was really strange. That was a really strange place to be. And then I always thought, oh, you know what? In another 10 years' time, they'll all have babies and we'll reconnect. But now that's happened. Now they all have babies, and it comes in waves. It comes in waves. But like a few of my friends had babies last year, and I thought, oh, great, I'll get to talk to them about motherhood, and they'll understand the tiredness, understand these things. And then it was like, oh no, they have each other at the same stage of motherhood.
Yeah.
And you're not there. And then I found it two of my really close friends had babies this year, and then when they sent updates of like milestones they were hitting, it brought back all the memories of Christopher not hitting those milestones.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is really hard. But I was really honest with them, and I said, come here, I know you're so excited, and I genuinely am so excited for you, but would you mind not sending those updates unless I ask for them? Because if I'm having a mentally hard day, or day, and they got it. They didn't offense to it. Again, saying no in a compassionate way to keep the doors open. But I didn't expect those things. It's constantly learning about other people and being in different paths to them, but at the same time having it's unusual.
It is, and it sounds like you found your belonging, and then all of a sudden it's gone, which is tough. Because it's one thing looking for belonging and not belonging and sort of knowing you don't belong and hoping, but then when you find it and it goes again, it's a bit like, all right, okay, what do I do now? Like,
yeah, and it was quite scary. And myself and Christopher's dad, we were together through all of college, and when Christopher was born, obviously the dynamic completely changes, and we were so young.
Yeah.
And then we separated, and it was only then when I was left completely in the middle of, at the time, Christopher was going through his assessments to be diagnosed. And it was through that horrible, dark, and really lonely time that I really learned, okay, I met this girl in town that I used to be friends with, and she said, genuinely, message me anytime. And I said, you know what, I will. And I messaged, said, you know what, I'm having a really horrible day, and I have nobody else to call up and just watch TV. Do you want to call up? And she called up. And it was through reaching out like that and following through with people, because as Irish people are like, oh, I'll call you on Sunday. And then and people don't want to impose on people with a baby. But I was really glad that she said, I will call up. And to this day, she's one of my best friends.
Oh.
And through her, I met more friends, and it opened new doors. And I felt, okay, this is new, and these are new people. And honestly, when I hear people are in horribly dark times, I'm like, I'm telling you now, you will not believe me. But in 6 months' time, you will have learned something so huge about yourself. And it's that saying, like, every crack lets light in. And it's like, yeah, you have to be in the dark to see the crack of light. Like, it doesn't work the other way around.
Yeah.
And that's anytime I suffer very badly from like depression and anxiety and stuff. And that's something that always comes back to me when I'm feeling really low. I'm like, I'm learning something right now. This is something coming my way that I need to go through this to learn from it. And sometimes I don't even believe that out of my own mouth. But then looking back, you're like, oh, actually, didn't that slot in nicely? Or that took its time, but we're here now, and that's interesting. So life is funny. But that was a really hard time.
Well, yeah, and I mean, sorry, again, I have so many questions to ask you about what you said, but the first one, I suppose, is you know, you're so lovely and open about anxiety and depression, and that you get a learning each time you kind of go back into that darkness. Has that helped you see the triggers for your anxiety and depression a little earlier than you maybe would have in years gone past, or are you learning different things?
I'm really open about things because, first of all, I'm really bad at keeping secrets. I'm so bad at it. And I think any story not told and you bring it to your grave, like, that's a waste of a story. You know, that's a waste of a story. Whether it's good, bad, you're the bad person, you're the victim, you're the protagonist, like whatever you are in the story, tell the story. Because, you know, by reaching out to people as well, it can be really hard to reach out to people, but by telling your story, people will feel comfortable reaching out to you because they're like, thank you, because I went through that. Thank you. You know, I feel that way today. Especially with autism. There's days there where like last Monday, I had one of the most overwhelming anxiety-riddled days with autism in a long time. I think I had held it all together for so long that my anxiety just went smack with anxiety for autism and for Christopher. And it was actually out of a good thing it came of. So he made a friend in school. And I was so terrified on Monday that might change. And I was so scared for him. And it starts this whole spiral effect of, will he ever have friends? Will he ever have a relationship? Will he ever have a job? Will he ever get through like a job interview? All these things go through your head in this split second, and like it hits you in the heart. Like it really hits you in, like, right in your soul, that you can't do anything. And the services do nothing. Like, they do not help. And at the moment, they actually cannot help.
Yeah.
It's a disgrace. I mean, Christopher is very high functioning outwardly, but inwardly he has lots of anxiety, he has loads of social interaction, he needs so much help with that, you know, self-care, sense of danger, all those things, you know, personal. And he needs, I can't, he can mimic me for so long and mirror the examples around him, but he's 10 and he needs professionals to come in and help. And that is also a huge thing that has come from Instagram, because the services are so stretched, so understaffed, so underfunded, so unwilling to say anything, take chances on anything in case like there's people suing them for suggestions. That Instagram has become that place where you put out a cry for help, and all of these autism warriors between OT, speech and language, social skills, everything, fellow mom, they come flocking, and they will come and they will help. It doesn't matter if that person personally doesn't like you. They will come and help your child. Everything is pushed aside. It genuinely is that new village that raises the child.
Put it, the new village. Oh wow.
It really, And I think gone are the day, especially at the moment, gone are the day where you'd be in like a play group. Not that you can do that with autistic kids, or you know, and another mom would be like, I saw you having an issue there now, and I'll tell you what worked for me. Now it's Instagram for that. And I have had breakthroughs with Christopher through what people have given me on social media. But the other side of it is, like, I've also been told I should have had an abortion. You're
kidding me.
Yeah, I've also been told that autism is my own fault.
Wow.
Or told Christopher isn't autistic enough, you're doing it for attention. And they're like, oh, great way. I get messages going, oh, great way to use your child for followers. I'm like, hold on a second. I've been on Instagram since 2010, when it was the old filters and the blocks. And then it's gone through many evolutions. Then it turned into a place where it was mainly music, kind of turned into a new MySpace, which worked for me. Then it turned into a place where it was like business. Then the Instagrammer kind of thing started. And it evolved again. Even last night, I just got a new update where it has like the marketplace and stuff in it. It's evolving again. And, you know, you can't just go, I saw 10 snaps of your day and I know exactly what you are about. Like, okay.
A moment in my day.
For you.
Yeah. What do you do with those people? Okay. What do you do with those trollers? How do you deal with them?
I used to get really upset.
Yeah.
About 2 or 3 years ago, I would have gotten really upset. Then I got ballsy and annoyed at them and were like, well, you're a horrible person, go away, and I blocked them. But now I'm really interested to see, and I think that's, again, the music, theatre, training side of me. I'm like, what am I doing that annoys you?
Yeah.
Is it me talking? Is it me sharing memes? Is it me sharing facts? What is it that annoys you? What, you know, if you really don't like me that much, and, you know, give me some tips so I don't piss up. Then usually they go a bit quiet. But then with the autism comments, I just say, look, I'm really sorry that you feel that way, but, you know, where is your information coming from? Where's that opinion stem from? A lot of them would be anti-vax people. A lot of them would be very Catholic people. I mean, that was, or older people. I never ever get any judgment from anyone kind of 25 and under.
Yeah.
They're also these people are part of their world.
Yeah. So normalized.
But over that, it's tricky. It's like, I don't understand, so it's instant fear.
Yeah.
And out of fear comes attack. So, you know, every now and again, if they're willing to learn, I might send them a link. And if not, I just usually say, okay, well, we'll agree to disagree. Thank you very much. Because I do understand the side of autism as well. Like my granddad's brother had autism, but at the time, it wasn't really recognized as, you know, what I think autism is a great thing. But it was really, he couldn't go to school. The neighbors at the time had a petition to keep him inside while their children played outside in case he got aggressive. So yeah, it's, you know, that was the 60s, 70s. So my granduncle used to be inside all day. And then when like the kids on his road used to go out, my granddad and they used to go out and play with him and go for walks and stuff. And, you know, so it's always kind of been in my genetics to kind of be kind to people that are that bit different. Which ironically worked out for the best with the road my life took.
Yeah. And I just want to go back to school a bit and something you said earlier. I love what you said earlier, that people either love you or hate you. It made me think of Marmite when you said that. And I have two questions to ask about that. Well, firstly, how how do you seem very at peace with that now, you know? How did you get there? Because most of us have that people pleaser in us somewhere. Some of us have managed to, you know, get rid of it a lot, but it still crops its head up when you're anyway low or your self-esteem isn't feeling great. That people pleaser is always going to crop back up. So tell me how you worked on that.
Like, it's very easy when you're involved in the arts in any way, performing, because you know, if you don't have one friend backstage with you, when you go out on stage, you're there to entertain and please people, and you're going to feel that energy, and you're going to feel really powerful after gaining that energy from, you know, performing. Obviously, you are going to get people that don't like you there. But I think the training again with the arts, I don't remember an age where I didn't do like auditions for different things.
Right.
You're not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's okay. And if you don't get the part, be happy for the person that did.
Yeah.
And learn from them and watch them. And, you know, if there are people like that you aspire to be like, just watch them. You know, sitting in silence and watching them is, you know, especially, I always say to students as well, like, watch what happens in the silent bits. You know, if a performer is performing live, watch when they're not singing. Are they taking their breaths? Are they trying to remember their words? What are they doing in the quiet moments? And it's those quiet moments that tell you a lot about people. So I always find if I'm looking for people's approval, it's never going to come. Like, it's just not going to happen. People their own opinions, and it's okay for them to not have the same ones as you. I think an awful lot of it comes from autism as well. Like that thing, sometimes people don't like you because they don't understand. They might not understand what you stand for. They might not understand your morals. They might not understand what you admire. And that doesn't mean they don't like you as a person.
Yeah.
It's just you're not on the same wavelength. Like that and that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, again, going back to like being left with nobody. Like, I remember sitting in the house with Christopher when he was that age, like for 4 or 5 days, and thinking, you know, obviously you have family around, but you know, with friends are different, and feeling like, okay, I have nobody, and do I like myself? Like, you know, when you're left with yourself and you go, I could be a better person. I could probably be a bit calmer. This is a good time to get to know myself. And if you know yourself, you know how to present yourself. It's like a product. If you get handed a product, you know, especially like some sort of kitchen utensil from a drawer, and you're told, right, line there now, tell people how to use it and how amazing it is. Like, you're going to go, I don't know how to present this. I don't know who I'm targeting. I don't know who I'm, you know, presenting it to. I don't know how it works. If you don't know yourself, you can't, I'm not saying you're selling yourself either, but you don't know who you're trying to align with if you don't know what line you're on.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Absolutely. It comes up when I'm coaching people all the time. So they say, I want to get here, or I want to do that, or I want to be that. And then I would say, well, how are you showing up now then? Because if you're saying I want to be seen as this, it's not coming across now. So what can you do so it comes across now? So you are seen like that. So yeah, I totally get you. And sometimes it's because they just don't know who they are yet. And I've been there. I know what that is. You know, somebody says to describe you, you're like, I don't even know the words to use. So yeah, totally makes sense, Lisa. It comes up in coaching nearly every session I do. Totally.
Yeah, and like, especially with Christopher, I'm so like, it's okay to be different. You have a superpower by being different. And, you know, you're instilling this confidence into a little kid. Whereas I didn't realize that I'd learned that confidence myself at the same time. What I was saying to him, myself as well. And we've kind of grown together, I think, in that confidence, which has been really nice. But again, totally encourage, get kids involved in the arts, send them the auditions, let them not get the part, celebrate them not getting the part.
Yes.
Let them know if you get like, if they're doing like singing exams, piano exams, whatever exams, read the comments that come back. Why did you lose marks? There you go. That's, you know, that's a great thing that somebody said, you can improve this.
Yeah.
They didn't just say, no, you're horrible, go away. They, you know, take on the criticism. And I think that's why a lot of musicians seem very chill.
Yeah, it's resilience though, isn't it? You've built a very, very strong core of resilience, which a lot of, I say 90, maybe 80% of people don't have. And again, I see that in the workplace, that resilience. It's, and you only get resilience from falling over. You don't get it out of the blue. It doesn't come out of the air. You don't go, I'm going to be more resilient today. You get it from the scar tissue, isn't it?
It is like, and like, it's because musicians, and that's just, I can only pull from musicians because that's what but like, and I think people with disabilities have been told their whole life, you're different. You don't fit this mold. You don't fit that mold. Come back in another year. You know, there's always not a block because, you know, it's just a fence. You can still get over it eventually, but right might not be your time. And that's a good thing to instill in kids. I think a lot of people are very afraid to tell their kids that they're not good at something.
Totally agree with you. I feel like we wrap our kids up in cotton wool these days, and then what comes out is somebody, and I say this to my daughter all the time, and again, I suppose because I'm in HR, right? So I see the human race and where they struggle in work particularly, right? And I always say this to my daughter, she's 8, and I'm like, you know, there's ways to toughen up and not take things so personally. And one of those is that you're brilliant at some stuff and we're not great at others, and that's okay. It's okay not to be top of the class. It's okay. It's okay, because you're going to learn more from that than you are from being top of the class, actually.
And the people that all the time put some pressure on themselves, they don't enjoy it. Like some of the best shows that I ever did was when I was in the chorus of the show and I didn't have to remember lines. I didn't have to remember a microphone. Like, you know, and it was great to be the lead in things, but with responsibility. And, you know, you always think you want power, but then when the responsibility comes with the power, you're like, oh, I know, right? Did not plan for that.
Totally agree with you.
And that when you do music, you're, you know, if you get the lead in a show or you have to do a solo, you learn that very quickly. And, you know, I get really shocked when people are like, oh, I'd love that. I'd love to do that show, or I'd love to do that part, or I'd love to do that job, or let me talk. And then when it comes to the moment, they're like, oh my God, did not think this through. And it's like, no, you're here now. That's tough.
Suck it up. You got to do it.
So, do it now. So it's good to have kids involved with things that criticize them. Obviously, do your research and find out who's nice and has creative criticism, not, you know, mind, you know, mental torture criticism. We're not talking Abby Lee Miller now, dance moms. That's too far.
No, I totally agree with you.
Too much.
Totally agree with you. I just see it so much in the adults. And actually, one thing you said there about the chorus, I'm in a gospel choir, and I love being told, stand there, sing that, dance like this, smile, because you spend your whole day making decisions. I just want somebody to tell me where to go and be part of the organism rather than leading the organism. There's nothing like being part of it and being in with people where you're all breathing the same, you're all on the same team, trying to achieve the same thing. It is so cool. And the solo
nice,
part.
especially, and you just miss it so much this year. Like one of my biggest idols of life, and she's totally Marmite as well, is Amanda Palmer. I just think that woman, she's married to Neil Gaiman. A lot of people know
I looked her up when you posted about her one day because I recognized her face, but I couldn't place her.
And she has an amazing story of being knocked back a lot by like record labels. She was the first person to self-fund a Kickstarter. She still does it through Patreon. So it's like people pay a monthly subscription She gets to release anything that she wants. It's not totally fake manufactured by record labels. Now that works for some people, but for her style of writing and performing, it doesn't. So this works, the patronage, it works. And she has a book called The Art of Asking, and it's an amazing book. So she had the most random life. Like, I mean, she was a human statue for a while to raise money. She was a dominatrix for a while to raise money. She anything you can think of, she has tried it at least once. And she said that one of the hardest things she had to learn in her life was asking for help, and that going through Kickstarter and getting rid of the powers that be over her creativity, like made her really grow and take her power back, and learned that asking for help is okay. And she has a 5-year-old now, so she's really open about having to ask for help with a child and not knowing what the hell is going on. So it's interesting to watch
two
her.
really interesting things there about asking for help. You're so right. It's so hard to do, isn't it? And learning, one thing I suppose, again, I come up a lot, and this, my tribe talk last night, we were talking about this, was understanding what your strengths are and allowing yourself to say, I'm good at that, is really hard. But the better you are at that, the better you are at going, but I'm also shit at that. And I'm okay with being shit at that because I know I'm good at that. Instead of trying to be all things to everybody, which is exhausting.
Yeah.
And taking
and I think that's really important. Oh yeah, and it's really important. I think something that really irks me and most people, I'm sure, that genuinely do suffer from mental health, anxiety, depression, you know, when people turn around like, message me anytime.
Yeah.
No, if you cannot commit to that, don't say it.
Yeah.
If you want to post the numbers, the helpline numbers, the text numbers, tell them that people are there. It does not mean you are a bad person because you can't emotionally take on somebody else's problems. But do not say you can and then be unavailable to somebody that reaches out and says, hi, saw your post, wondering, are you free for a chat? Can you help me? That takes so much for somebody to send a message. So if you can't emotionally commit to helping somebody, don't say you can, but you can help them in other ways. You can post those numbers, you can post those text lines. You know, it's dangerous to offer help if you can't follow up on it. So, because it's very, very hard to ask for the help. Very.
Also, I think some of us who offer help probably aren't equipped to offer the help. And then it can get both of you into a worse situation because mental health is catching, you know, I mean, and when you're immersing yourself in somebody else's mental health, your own mental health is at risk. So sometimes, and again, I think I learned this through my coaching, is to stay in my lane, know what I can do for you and know when it stops, but to know where to maybe help you go, you know? So if I'm with a client and something comes up that is actually more appropriate for counseling, I've got to be big enough to say that that's not my area and I'd be doing damage here if I tried to give you bad advice, you know?
And that's the going back to learning to say no with respect and not just being a hard no. It's just like, no, but I will follow up with you. I will find an avenue for you. But the asking for help is, you know, it is worth it. I mean, I've gone through some very hard times in the past 2 or 3 years, and I have reached out to people and I've been ignored, and that's okay. You can't take that personally either. You have to, you know, maybe my message triggered something in them. Maybe they're going through something and they're not ready to talk about it back. You can't hold it against people that won't help you either. You know, asking for help doesn't automatically mean you get the help. But keep asking anyway. Just keep asking. Because you might not be at or that's it.
It's a good message. I think you're right. I think some people would love to help, but are absolutely terrified. They're terrified of whatever it is that you're dealing with. And they're like, I actually have no idea what to do. So I'm frozen by fear. But also, I think what I'm trying to do with my coaching and work particularly is help people ask specifically for what they need, you know? So tell people what it is they need them to do rather than just say, I'm struggling. But now I'm in a work context. Of course, when you've got depression and anxiety, you often can't say what it is that you need, right? But I'm talking in a work perspective. I think if we can learn how to ask for specifics and people go, yes, I can help you, or no, but I know who can, instead of kind of just offering them a bucket of mud and going, ah.
Yeah, and you know what I find? Again, that's kind of that 20, maybe 30 plus now. We see that as being really demanding or bossy because we were told, don't go demanding or bossy. Whereas kind of, I have friends that are under 30 and they have no problem. And my sister is 26 and she has no problem sending a really, it wouldn't be rude or anything, but it would be really blunt. I need you to do this for me. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll be a please. Okay, I mean, great. But they're not afraid because they know they've just grown up with a totally different set of, you know, especially the girls. You know, they've been told you can be strong and you can be powerful and you can change things rather than, I know, especially in Kerry, it's like, oh, you know, don't be putting yourself out there now. Like people will be saying, he is, and you know, don't be bossy now, don't be demanding, wait your turn, sit back. You know, and that was what we were told. You know, we sat down and we did. And when people didn't, we were like, oh my God. And I think why I was so drawn to Amanda Palmer when I was 14, I was like, she's doing what she wants. She has something to say and she's saying it. And people are booing her and she's still saying it because she's so passionate about it. And I was like, oh my God. So I think under 30s, we're in good hands, I think.
I like this. Your theme of hope for the younger generations is very strong, Lisa.
I think because of my own surroundings, I wouldn't really be around a lot of people that are older than I am. I'm very close to my nan. I'm very close to my aunt. I'd be very close. I wouldn't be very close with a lot of my older family. So a lot of people that I've met along the way have been kind of friends of friends that have become my friends, people I've met through performing or teaching. And then my students come to me and, you know, there's some students that I had from when they were 8 and now they're like 21.
Like proper adults.
And you're like, I watched you grow. And they come every week and they might have had a bad week. And you can't hide it when you're singing because your body instrument, your body will show any tension or emotion and your vocal cords react because they're a muscle. And you know, if your muscle is tight, why are you holding tension? Why is it wobbling? Why does it seem weak today? What happened this week has caused this? And you know, even their choices in songs, you know, you get to read them like books and to hear their goals. They're you know, they're being told all the time, oh, climate change is going to kill everything. The government is going to ruin everything. The economic crisis is coming, all this stuff. And they kind of are going, no, we're not accepting that. You know, that's maybe what you think, but we're going to change that. We're not going to let you ruin it for us.
Well, I mean, look at Corona. You know, it's devastating. But it's not that long that we've also found a vaccine. Like, that's crazy. Like a pandemic that's life-changing, and then we've got a vaccine coming. I think that's mad. Like that science is that amazing that when we all put our minds to it and put our shoulders to the grindstone, you know, a vaccine.
I saw a really funny meme the last night. I cannot remember where I saw it now, but most of the kind of studies were done in Ireland. And it was like, oh, look what happened. Close the pubs for 6 months. We've cured a world pandemic to get them back open. I was like, oh my God, oh what?
Oh, did you see the other one? Waterford Whisperers said that the young Irish intern accidentally threw some flat 7-Up into the mix, and sure, now we've got the virus. Got the virus left. You know, flat 7-Up, sure. Trust the Irish.
Flat 7-Up followed by a dry slice of toast a week later.
Honestly, oh, it's brilliant. But no, I love like, hope, Lisa. It's so refreshing because you know, we've only got a few minutes left, but I'm so interested in your relationship with social media. Can you believe it? We're already talking an hour. I know. We could do two. We should do 2-parter. But your relationship with social media is so interesting to me because, again, you're a generation sort of younger than I am, and it's very interesting to watch different relationships with social media. And you seem to get a lot of positivity out of it, a lot of community. But one thing I hear from younger people, I'm very, very strict with what I allow into my brain. I've had to learn to curate very carefully what I allow in, because I would get very anxious if I don't, right? So my social media, if anything makes me feel uncomfortable, I'm like, I don't follow it like that. I don't understand what people talk about social media, because I'm like, well, why are you watching that shit, mate? Like, just don't. But what I do hear is about all this negativity about young people, you know, social media, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I'm hearing something so different from you. I'm hearing hope and faith in them, and that, you know, we're in safe hands. The world is in safe hands. It's such a lovely message.
I just think the next generation are going to teach us all a lot of lessons. I'm just really lucky that, like, at the moment, I have students from 8 to 23. So, you know, it's odd because, you know, I have a half hour with each of them. So, you know, at the start of the half hour, you're going to ask how their week was, what songs are they interested in. We'll go over the song from last week, how they feel about that now. Did they learn any facts about it? Did they research anything? And then we move on to the new songs. And, you know, it's all about, again, muscles, emotions, everything. So they end up like, it ends up a little bit of a counseling session sometimes. And you just have to listen. And I think a lot of people, out of our own fear of getting anxious about somebody saying something to us, and, you know, the word triggered, you know, that's become a very casual word these days. It really has, but things can be genuinely very triggering for people. So people kind of don't like listening in case that happens to them. So I think when you go into teaching, people think, oh, you have a great job. You get to like sit there and listen to people singing Disney songs and songs. They go out the door and they feel great. And that's a huge part of it. But a big part of it then can be triggering for me, especially teenagers that come in and say, you know, I'm having a really hard time in school, or I'm finding I don't fit in, or I'm finding, you know, because I'll instantly go back to Lisa, who was in school, and, you know, but I can turn around to them and be really honest and be like, I was like that.
Yeah.
And I got through that. And no, it's not nice for a few years, you know, but you can take so much from it. And it's the same with social media. I mean, and I think it only affects, again, the over between 30 to 50 age group. All you will hear complaining about, like, image on social media and like photoshopping and everything, is our age group. Whereas, you know, especially that age group now, the kind of 14 to 22s, they're like, sure, that's Photoshop. Sure, that's airbrushed.
Yeah.
Not real. Or that's, you know, they know.
Yeah.
Real. Because they've grown up seeing it and they can do it themselves better than it. They're very aware that it's not real. Whereas our demographic are just a bit louder about it. So you hear more of the negatives, I think.
And more sensitive about it, I think. Don't you think they're more sensitive about it? They get really like knickers in a twist that this is happening. I genuinely, I mean, again, I think it probably depends on who you are and how you feel about yourself. I think it really comes down to how you feel about yourself, because I genuinely don't give a shit. I'm just like scroll on, delete, whatever. But I think it is about how much self-worth you've got. And obviously things are going to really upset you if your self-worth is lower, you know?
But like, I mean, we have to take it back to like magazines. That's what we grew up with.
Yeah.
I mean, they were way
photoshopped.
Yeah. I mean, literally, they used to Photoshop out limbs. Like, what? You know, and we didn't know what Photoshop was because we'd never seen it. It was this thing. Whereas trust that, you know, and there's also a big thing. You can't expose kids and teenagers too much to the internet, but at the same time, they do need to be desensitized from it by being there and being able to recognize that's fake.
Yeah.
That's not real. Or, you know, like Trump, fake news. Like, you know, they need to differentiate between those things. Like, so it is important to let them be on social media monitored carefully so they can become desensitized to it, because we're also sensitive to trolling and being judged and everything, because we only got it in our late 20s.
Yeah, it's new. Yeah.
New, like, so, but growing up with it, they're like, Era, whatever, I'll block her. That's fine. You know? It's, we have to trust them a bit, I think.
That's a lovely message. And I think we will end on that message, but you know what? We might have to do a part 2 sometime, Lisa, because there's so much more I want to ask you. But thank you so much. My final question for you before we say goodbye is, tell me one thing that makes your heart sing.
One thing that makes my heart sing. People, I like when people tell me I'm genuine. When people can go, what? I appreciate you being genuine. Even if I might have said something I didn't really like, or, you know, but they'll turn around and, you know what? I appreciate you for being you and being genuine and setting it out there. That's something I kind of really try, even if I'm afraid to step on somebody's toes. If something needs to be said, just say it.
Well, I think you're super genuine. And that's why I really connected with you on Instagram, was your genuineness. I love authentic people. I love genuine people. And you make me laugh as well. I love that. And you're a lovely soul, Lisa. You're just a lovely soul. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And we'll do a part 2. We'll definitely do it. After lockdown, we'll come back on and we'll say, right, what's changed? What's happened? I'd love that. So thank you very much. You stay there while I say goodbye to everybody else. Everybody, thank you so much. And you will see where I posted this. You'll see all Lisa's handles and different places you can connect with her. And we'll see you next time for Tribe Talks.